Hi everybody, welcome to the latest episode of the Taco Tuesday podcast. This is Brandon.
And this is Jake.
And man, it's been a busy week already.
So busy.
Yeah, we've there are 3...
I ran for office, got defeated.
I've never ran in my life. Let's see, we've got the Taco Tuesday podcast, the Therapy is a Joke podcast, and now the Slamburger and French Fries podcast.
I love that name, man.
And so far, with 3
We're going to start a podcast company, I feel like.
I'm down.
Or you are, and I'm just going to, like, get the occasional residual.
I'm okay.
For talking.
As long as we have a locker room, I'm set.
A locker room?
Yeah, that's the only...
That's your criteria?
That's my one request.
Okay.
As long as the building has a locker room. Nobody has to use it.
We have to have a building?
Yeah.
We can turn this room that we're in right now into a locker room.
Just put lockers around the wall. I'm okay with it.
I feel like if you put one locker in here, it becomes a locker room.
Technically, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, technically. So
and a bench. We need a bench and a locker.
And I'm just going to pay a dude to walk around here in a towel and be awkward about it. Doesn't even have to be
just
in shape.
Like occasionally slap your ass or something.
Right. Doesn't even have to be in shape. He's like, welcome in. How you doing, buddy?
He's like, did you see that game? Oh my gosh.
Like we're in an off season, man. So we've got
3 podcasts.
We've got the 3 podcasts, and already this week we've put out 3 episodes, 3 hours.
Well, have we put 3 out, or is the one we're recording right now the 3rd one?
This would be the 4th of the week.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So you went and recorded, as you already know.
I did.
You went and recorded an episode with Todd Wilhite.
Yeah,
he
guest co-hosted for the Therapy is a Joke podcast with Renwick Mansion proprietors Sarah and Dane Moulton. I didn't bother to ask them, of course, because I'm a rookie, how to pronounce her last name, and I've never called it. Like I've known them for a few months, but I've always just called them Sarah and Dane.
Yeah.
And so I think, like I asked, I was like, "Oh shit, did I say that wrong?" And they're like, "Yeah, close enough."
Right.
Know?
Well, and the funny story about that is that I wasn't able to make it for that recording.
Right.
And I'm not very familiar with them.
Right.
So the first time I heard their names was when I heard the recording, and it sounded like they said Sarah and Dave.
Right.
So
that was probably my fault because I don't enunciate well. Because I introduced them, right? And I don't think they said, "Yeah, I'm Dane."
Yeah.
It's like Sarah Dane.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you said his name, and I was like, "Oh, it's Dave." And then I made the album cover for the episode and put Sarah and Dave.
Right.
And then the title of the episode, Sarah and Dave.
Right.
And then in the description, Sarah and Dave. And I was like, there we go. And I texted you today, and you're like, oh yeah, it was fun talking to Sarah and Dane. I go, wait. Was it Dave or Dane? You went, no, Dane.
Yeah, no, I thought you were fucking with me.
No, I was like,
this is a funny joke, Brandon. You're like, no joke.
No, so I went on and I changed everything from the album cover of the episode to the title to the description and then even the Facebook post.
Right.
And that took all of 45 seconds, so I was relieved. Hopefully I was able to change it before they saw it or they heard about it and they're like, these assholes interviewed us.
Look, I'm not going to... It still says Sarah and Dave.
Ah, damn it!
Well,
see, I've got to go on there and switch it around. But yeah, no, so I had to go... What's that?
I said, anyways, it's not a big deal.
Yeah, so I'd like to get his name right. You know,
right.
I don't want to...
I'm sure
like,
this isn't the first time it's happened.
Yeah, I don't want them to think like, oh, these assholes interviewed us and they didn't even care to get all their information right.
Yeah.
So for future reference, that was my bad. I misheard. And hopefully we get everything switched around so that nobody is upset with us or disappointed rather.
Right.
But yeah, no. So I listened to the episode. You guys did really good. You and Todd play off each other really well.
I was going to say Todd is just he's a natural at riffing, so he was able to like, he's a lot quicker with jokes than I am, and honestly, because you weren't there, I was trying to like take a more serious role and like make sure that I ask good questions and talk about this, how one operates a mansion business,
right? Which
is what they do. I mean, that they didn't like buy it to live in it. But there were times, and I think partially because I was nervous. But there was times where I didn't have anything to say, and nothing popped into my head of like, what could a good next question be?
Right.
And I was just stuck. And then at those times, like Todd seemed to know, and he would kind of shimmy in there and cover it. So
yeah, well, like I said, you guys riffed off each other well, and definitely complimented each other while getting the interview. So kudos to both of you.
Did you listen to it?
Yeah.
You thought it was all right?
Yeah, you did well.
Cool. And then so you recently started another podcast with a few friends, right? 3 friends.
Yeah. It was myself, my buddy Johnny, who's been on the podcast before,
right?
And our buddies Steven and Ryan. We're all lifelong wrestling fans. We wrestled together before with SCW.
Okay.
And we just we covered WrestleMania weekend, which was this last weekend.
Oh. Did you cover it? Like, did you watch it and record it at the same time, or you
not at the same time?
Talked about it after
it
was done?
After the fact, yeah. We spent 1 hour covering the festivities from Saturday,
okay,
and then another hour and a half about covering WrestleMania itself. WWE puts on a pay-per-view on Saturday for their NXT, I guess you could call it, faction of the show or section of their product. And that show on Saturday was about 3 hours.
Okay.
Which is the average general length for WWE pay-per-views. And then WrestleMania itself was a little over 7 hours long.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was like a festival. And I can only imagine the people sitting in the crowd, like, who paid money to fly into New Orleans and pay for the seat, which are already heavily priced.
Right.
But they paid all that money to sit there for 7 hours. You gotta, WWE or anybody, you gotta entertain those people for 7+ hours.
Right.
And for the most part they did, but
you think so?
I feel in general, about 5 hours in, people were getting restless, and they're like, give us something, give us.
Yeah.
And so hours 6 and 7 and beyond, you could definitely tell that the crowd was restless and, like, I don't want to say bored, but just restless is the best way to put it. And they kind of started revolting a little bit. They're like,
really?
They're yelling shit out. They're booing stuff. They're just all in all showing their displeasure. They're like, come on, like, give us something.
Right.
And from all the reports I've heard, from like backstage and all that, there were a lot of stories of wrestlers being upset that they were that the pay-per-view was so long and they were put so far off in the card that they were fighting an uphill battle, just tired people, and they were, even though they were there because they love wrestling, those people were tired. They were over it.
Did you watch the WrestleMania? Did you get the pay-per-view?
Yeah. I watched both the NXT TakeOver on Saturday and then WrestleMania on Sunday.
Okay.
So it was just a whole weekend of wrestling. And
what did you think about it?
NXT TakeOver on Saturday. The best way I can describe it for somebody like yourself that doesn't watch,
right?
NXT is like their developmental.
Okay.
Where WrestleMania is the major leagues. That's Cubs, Yankees, whatever you want to call it. NXT would be like their River Bandits.
Okay.
Or their farm league team, basically.
Gotcha.
And
up and comers.
Yeah, exactly. And which is funny to say because the guys on the NXT roster are not up and comers by any means. Like they've I feel like they've established themselves.
Okay.
These are guys that for years kind of honed their craft on the independent circuit and wrestled in small town gymnasiums and bingo halls and across the United States, and WWE saw what they had to offer and went, hey, we want you guys to come work for the big boys.
Right.
And rather than put them directly on the main shows like Raw or SmackDown, which are on USA Network, they bring them to NXT first to kind of get them used to the rigmarole of the WWE schedule and that kind of thing. And so before WWE pay-per-views, like WrestleMania on Sunday or Backlash or the other main pay-per-views, sometimes they'll have NXT TakeOver pay-per-views the Saturday before to kind of prep people for the WWE pay-per-view on Sunday.
Sure, that makes sense.
So far, there hasn't been an NXT TakeOver pay-per-view that I haven't liked. Like, they consistently put out good shows and good booking and great matches, and the show on Saturday was no exception. Like, it was a lot of fun, and there were a lot of guys in the show that I heard of way before they came to WWE or NXT, and was excited for them to come around and for everybody else to see them. And now everybody's seeing them, and some people for the first time, and they're kind of getting a glimpse and saying, holy shit, why haven't I heard of this guy or these guys before? And I'm kind of sitting back and like, I don't want to say like a proud father, because I had nothing to do with their success. Like, they worked their ass off without me. But
you kind of follow some of these guys.
Yeah.
Do you know, and I know him through my brother Nathan. He went to school with Nathan, but he, I believe, has wrestled for SCW. He lives in Chicago now. And I feel like he's becoming a bigger name. I know he travels a lot for wrestling, but his wrestling name is Marcus Crane. Have you ever heard of him?
Yeah. No, I used to wrestle with Marcus. Marcus is good people.
Yeah, so he was down in New Orleans, and I assumed, I didn't realize that WrestleMania, literally until you just told me, I had no idea where WrestleMania was, but he went down there, and I just assumed it was for a wrestling job that he had, but I guess he probably went to watch it, or just to be like in the atmosphere of.
As far as I know, Marcus did go to. I don't have Marcus on Facebook because I'm not on Facebook.
Right.
But when, let's see, I think I saw something either on Instagram or Twitter that he was in the area, or he was at the show. Sorry, at WrestleMania. But what happens, at least for the last 4 years at least, maybe a little bit more than that. They announce where they're going to have WrestleMania every year,
right?
Like a year out. So the other, for lack of a better term, lesser known companies, can book shows down there in the area, so that people that go there for WrestleMania can also say, "Well, I'm in town. I'll go check out this smaller show or that smaller show."
Right.
So it's not just WrestleMania. It's all these other wrestling shows.
It's like a culture of wrestling or something almost.
Yeah, so it becomes a week of wrestling wherever WrestleMania's at.
Yeah.
So
that's fun.
All leading up to WrestleMania. And there were AAW out of Chicago was down there.
Right.
They put on a show, I think, at like 11 a.m. called Pancakes and Pile Drivers.
Okay.
And I think I don't think Marcus was on that show. I think, if anything, he may have been on Game Changer Wrestling show. He's, as far as I know, he's been wrestling for them quite a bit and likes it, and he's getting a pretty good following, man. He traveled to Mexico, and
he seems like he's doing really well for himself in that vein. But it's weird. Like, I never, like, growing up, we never really watched wrestling. My dad always kind of made fun of it. I still to this day don't love wrestling. I don't really care for the WWE or the main ones, just because obviously all wrestling is scripted. That's not a secret, but it just doesn't interest me.
Yeah.
But I will say, like, when I did Turnbuckle last year, one of the things that it was called Turnbuckle. it was called the Turnbuckle Comedy Music, but there was a wrestling match on Saturday, and that was